So, does anyone still watch Rick and Morty? I remember watching it for the first time. I was enthralled by it. I just remember being so confused and amazed and wow, like what is this? This is awesome. This is cool. Is it cool? I don't know, it's kind of weird, but it's also cool. The small details really drew me in. Like how the pupils were scribbles. I was like, whoa, this is interesting. It was like animators of the show, they didn't even care about the characters enough to draw a perfect circle as a pupil. They just did a scribble, which was so funny to me. Anyways, I also loved the humor, of course. I love that it was science fiction because I personally love and I'm obsessed with science. So I thought that part of it was super cool. And admittedly, I was one of those people who thought was super smart just because they watched Rick and Morty. And then that meme came out that was like, to be fair, you need to have a high IQ to understand Rick and Morty. And I was like, oh, no, I totally don't think I'm like super smart for watching Rick and Morty, no. But yeah, after that meme came out, I was like, wait, they're actually right. I'm actually freaking stupid. But anyways, I still love this show. I loved the first 2 seasons. When I watched the show for the first time and I was like enthralled by it, obsessed by it, right? Obsessed with it, right? I was like, okay, I'm watching every single episode that's out, and it was the first 2 seasons. So when I got to the end of it, I was like, okay, I need more. This is awesome. This is amazing. Like, I need more episodes. So then I waited for like a year, I think it was, and then season 3 came out, and I was extremely excited. Like, I even went to this premiere thing and Dan Harmon was like there in the audience. So I was like, oh, that was Dan Harmon. They had a big screen and they were showing I think it was the Pickle Rick episode because they had aired the first episode already. I watched that episode with like a huge crowd of people and it was super cool. But at the same time, I was like, honestly, I wasn't that into the Pickle Rick episode. I know it's kind of like an anomaly when it comes to that episode because it became very, very popular in the weirdest way possible. And me liking that episode had nothing to do with how crazy people became about the episode. Like, I never judge my interest in something based on how fans react to it. I always go by what I genuinely think about the episode, and genuinely I was just like whatever about it. And I felt this way as I continued watching the 3rd season. I felt like there was something off about it. Something was different when I compared it to the first 2 seasons. But I continued watching. I continued into the 4th season, the 5th, and slowly just lost interest. I don't even know if I watched any of season 6. I probably watched a little bit of it, but I know beyond that I haven't seen anything. So what happened? What happened that made someone that was so enthralled and interested in the show become completely uninterested? And by the way, when Rick was like, oh, 100 seasons, 100 years Rick and Morty, I was like so excited by that. And now there are episodes out that I haven't even seen. Like, what? There are some things that went wrong, and I'm going to tell you what they are. One thing that I think that went wrong is Rick. In the 3rd season, Rick proclaims himself as the smartest man in the universe. And when I saw that at first, I was like, yeah, he is. But then when I look back to the first 2 seasons, he was not the smartest man in the universe. He was just a scientist. In my mind, I equated scientist with smart. So when he said he's the smartest man in the universe, I honestly didn't question it. I was like, yeah, he is. For example, take the Cronenberg episode. You know the episode where Morty's like, oh, I need to get Jessica to fall in love with me. Can you make like a potion or something so we fall in love? And then Rick is like, Morty, you don't need all that. But then he like makes a potion anyway. So then it goes like horribly wrong. And then with everything that goes wrong, Rick tries to fix it and it gets even worse and worse and worse. And then it ends up with Cronenberg people walking the streets. Yeah, the smartest man in the universe would not make a mistake like that and then keep making his mistake worse and worse, right? If you're the smartest man in the universe, You're not gonna mess up like that. So that right there is proof that Rick was not the smartest man in the universe at the beginning of the show. So I think that removed a lot of what made him more interesting and endearing as a person, because now he's more like, he's untouchable, right? Nothing can stop him from getting what he wants. And that kind of removes a lot of the intrigue that was there in the first 2 seasons. Like before, things could go wrong. There was that possibility. And you wouldn't know if he'd be able to fix it. But now it's like, he's kind of indestructible. Moving on from that, there's another aspect of the show that changed that honestly really threw me off from continuing watching. And this is Morty's character development. In the first 2 seasons, Morty is the opposite of Rick. He is nervous, he's confused, he's like, oh geez, what's happening? And then over time, Morty's character develops, right? He becomes more jaded. He's used to going on these adventures with Rick. Things aren't new to him anymore. He's not scared anymore. He's kind of a mini version of Rick now. He's still not as smart as Rick, but he has Rick's attitude. And this really threw me off from the show. Let's compare this to other characters that we know and love, like SpongeBob, for example. Just imagine if SpongeBob, happy, optimistic, loves his dumbass job. Imagine if he, from hanging out with Squidward, starts becoming more jaded about his job, starts realizing, oh, Squidward's not really my friend. And then his personality, he slowly becomes more and more like Squidward. That would completely ruin the show. Like, of course, this show right now is not what it used to be, but imagine if they also did that to the character. Okay, let's take another character, like from South Park, Cartman. Imagine if Cartman over time becomes more and more like calm. He becomes more guided by a moral compass. He's kind of like a good person. Over time, he learns like the way he was treating people before was not the best. He just becomes more like Stan, for example. Do you think the audience would be okay with that? Like, no. Morty's character development is very logical. It makes sense. At the same time, I don't think it's what's best for the show, because my whole reason for watching the show was seeing their dynamic, and it made things more funny. It made things more interesting. Like, I feel like if they're gonna do it, it should have been more gradual of a process. But still, I do prefer his character from season 1 and 2. That was the main thing for me personally that threw me off from the show. Beyond that, there was also the voice actor change, obviously, which when I first heard about that, I was like, the show's over. It's done. Like, they can't recover from changing the voice actor, right? I immediately assumed it wasn't gonna be as good, but when I watched those episodes with the voice actor change, I was like, okay, this is not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. So that actually ended up not being as big of a deal. You can tell it's a completely different person doing the voices, but it is not as bad as I thought it would be. Another thing, and I think I am in the minority when it comes to this opinion, is that they started to add a lot of like Star Wars references, a lot of Marvel references, which I personally don't watch Marvel stuff. I don't watch Star Wars. I watched the first movie and I was like, what is this? And that was mostly because of Jar Jar Binks. I was like, oh my god, how did people watch this? I'm sure if I like continued watching the series of movies that I would end up really liking it, but I just could not get past that. So yeah, that inclusion to the show made me like very turned off by it, because I don't understand those references that they're making. So that's just a personal thing though. Like, I know a lot of people wouldn't agree with that, and I don't expect them to not include those references in the show. But I do feel like the show was much more focused on references to other movies and stuff season 3 and on. Like, the first 2 seasons did really feel like they were making references more to like science-y things. The Schrodinger cat thing, they never do stuff like that in the newer seasons. Like, for example, the heist episode where they were like, oh, we're gonna do a heist movie reference. They just copied exactly what a heist movie does. Look how stupid heist movies are. Like, we just did exactly what a heist movie does and the result is so dumb, right? Which I get it. It's like funny. It's like in your head funny, but it's not like laugh out loud funny, you know? Another thing is that they set up these different things, like for example, Evil Morty, and then they just didn't want to continue with that story arc. And this was something that a lot of people were complaining about too. Why set up this super interesting aspect of a story and not continue it? And then they did that whole episode with the story circle, the train circle thing. And I was like, what's happening? Like, I didn't understand that episode at all. I had to like go online and look up Rick and Morty episode explanation, you know? Whereas in the first 2 seasons, I never had to do that. I just watched it and I enjoyed it in the moment and I completely understood it, you know? I didn't have to do like extra research to try to figure out what was happening in an episode. So just stuff like that slowly made me lose interest in the show. But overall, I am so thankful for those first 2 seasons. No matter how the show ends up going, I will always love those first 2 seasons. Like, nothing can ever take that away, and I am so grateful for that. I have heard some people say that the newer episodes are really good, so I might want to check those out. But what do you guys think? Are you guys still in love with the show just as much as you were when you first watched it, or do you also feel like there's something missing? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.